welcome back to Bunters Yard. So this is the build guide for our Nuclear Flask Gantry Crane. This is the 00 version, and I would suggest that you watch through the video a couple of times just to get an idea of where all the parts will actually fit, and then you can work out your own sort of schedule depending on how you'd like to construct and paint your model. As long as you know where all the bits go, that's the main point of this this video. I'll try and give some pointers on the way for the order to fit these things in, and painting and so on, but it's just my suggestion. So in the kit you'll find a number of bags, and I've tried to keep all the parts sort of together in sort of sections, so that you haven't got loads and loads of bits, and it makes it easier to identify the particular parts for each section. Now in these bags there are a number of small and some fragile parts, and I've tried to include some extras just in case there's any damage or any bits get lost or misplaced. So we'll start with the legs, and there are some small bits in there, and they're stuck in the bag. Let me get that out. There are extras of these small pieces. You'll see a kind of a little riveted plate, and that strange sort of whatever that shape is called. Anyway, you'll see it in a minute. So the legs, there are 4 of the leg shapes, and these are quite delicate to start with. So just be careful not to try and sort of stress them, and because they can snap at the top. There's no other way that I could have made this, but they are quite fragile. So yeah, just take care. I'm sure they'll be fine. So the legs, you'll see there are 2 types. So one has got that extra slot at the bottom. See, there's 2 slots at the bottom, and that's going to be the outer face of each of the leg. And the one that goes with it has not got that extra slot. So those 2 make our first pair for our first leg, and these are basically going to be like H beams. So these sections here, these are the part that form the middle of the H, and we've written H on them as well, just to make it quite clear what the inside of these are. They're actually there for a different reason. So all 4 of these parts are exactly the same. So there's no left, right, and back and forward and so on. Just make sure that when you fit them, that the H goes towards the inside. So the bit that's etched will be on the inside. It'll be covered with something in a minute, so you won't actually get to see it. And they fit in there it's quite a tight fit, but they do fit. It's a nice satisfying squeak as they actually make their way home. Now I'm just dry fitting this. A lot of the pieces you'll see me just dry fit, but obviously you will need to glue yours on. Now those pieces that we fit in there, they only go one way up. If you put it the wrong way up, it'll be obvious that it's incorrect. But as long as the H's point towards the inside of the leg, we'll be fine. So we've got these plastic extrusions. Now these are cut to size. There's 2 of each, 2 different sizes, 1 on each side. Now they fit roughly where those H's go. They are designed to go exactly where the H's go. They may not be absolutely precise, because just like literally 1/4 millimetre of me cutting that extrusion will make a bit of a difference. So the thing to bear in mind is when you put these into place is that the leg doesn't stress and come out of shape. If you push it in too far, the leg will flare at the bottom, and it will pinch in at the top, and that's something we really want to avoid. So just make sure that they just go in and they just fit naturally, and then just glue them into place. Just make sure they are sort of level with the ground, so parallel with the ground, and then just glue them into place, as I say. Now once we get the next couple of bits on, these legs will become a bit more sturdy. So these are the bottom of the, it's like the joist that goes across the middle of the, that holds the deck in place. And they're just going to pop into there. They will, they need to be, again, they need to be parallel with the ground. So as you'll see. So fit them both in. They're both exactly the same. They're not sided or they face either way up. These bits are etched, and so the etching will go on the outside. And that's just a mark for something else a bit later on. Now probably the fiddliest part of this whole exercise is fitting these cross braces. Now these are cut very slightly oversized. You need to trim these a little bit because if there's that plastic extrusion is in slightly the wrong place, or for whatever reason, then these will be too small. So they are cut oversized, but just try them as a dry fit just to begin with, and see how so they fit and how much you need to trim. If you do need to trim them, literally just trim a tiny piece at a time, just literally, half a millimeter from one end only, and then just try and fit it again. And that will eventually will go in there. So just try it a few times, and then once you've got it, it'll be in like that. I tend to put them in dry, and then I'll just super glue them into place. The super glue, the spray that makes it set is really useful. I'd suggest that you get some of that if you're ever going to use super glue. So these braces that hold the legs, need to be careful with these. Make sure that when you fit these, that they are probably in at the top and then glued tightly at the bottom, and they will hold the legs in completely square. So this is quite an important part. It's very easy to fit, so there's no trick to it really. Just make sure they are fitted nice and snugly. And then you can see there's no wobble, so that means the legs are square. Then we've got these reinforcement plates, and that go over the top of the beam and at the bottom of the that little triangular part at the bottom. And just make sure that when you fit these, you fit them square. You might want to fit these towards the end once you've got the deck on, and there's a particular reason for that. I'll show you in a bit. Now these braces, I've cut them much too large. And there's a reason for that, because you need to trim them to make sure they fit. So where you can see that little mark on the leg where the pieces fit together, it needs to fit over that, and it needs to be parallel to the ground. So you need to trim it a little bit. Just trim it a tiny piece at a time. On the backs of the legs, there's these little marks, and we want to get rid of those. So we've just provided these small little rivet type plates just to obscure that, just to cover that up a bit more. And there are extras. They're 10. You only need 8, and I think there should be 10 in the pack. So moving on to our deck at the top. So there are all the rails. The rails are quite fragile until they're fitted. So just take care of those, and there are some extra pieces of those sort of brackets, those triangular brackets. You can see there should be some extras of those. This is made from a 0.6mm card. It's quite strong, to be fair, but just take care at this point until they're fitted. So here's our deck. Now the deck has got etching on the top. You can see there's little lines at the top. So we need to flip it over. And then we're going to fit in just a piece of reinforcement where there would be a beam underneath the deck in the real life crane. And just to point out while we're doing this, there's many of these cranes around. None of them seem exactly the same as another one, so they're all very slightly different. This is based on the one at Dungeness. But pictures of that are sort of few and far between. Really, there's not every sort of view of that. So some of this we've had to kind of have a best guess and a bit of artistic license. So these little sort of brackets, they go along where the etch lines are. You can see the etch lines now on the outside of the beam, and they will line up with pieces on the bottom of the gantry deck as well. And then there should be 7 on each side, and you'll have a few spares hopefully as well. This is the surround of the deck, and that needs to go. That's it should be about 3mm on either side, sort of above and below, so it forms a little sort of lip. Moving on to the platform. Now in the platform there's a few bits, and there's some gantry, some sort of relay type boxes. Some of these gantries don't have them on at all. They are just an empty deck to like a platform, just so you can get to the top. Some have some form of control boxes on the top. So I'll leave it up to you whether you fit those or not. Entirely up to you. So that needs to fit it in the middle, and then we can fit the guardrails. So the large one in first. That one has to sneak inside. That's a little bit fiddly to get that one in. And then the one at this end, you need a gap because that's where the ladder's going to go. As I say, watch the video a couple of times, you'll get the idea of it. Ladders, there are 2 of those. The longer one is the first bit up, and the shorter one will go to the second, to the sort of top deck. And then we've got these little reinforced rings, these little sort of security rings, and they will fit over the little notches in the ladder. So the rings are made ever so slightly much smaller than the ladder, just so it gives a nice little click and it will grip on. But we still need to glue them in place, obviously. So just put that on there. You need to sort of stretch it over a little bit. Oops. He says. There we go, so it's clipped into place. And then we need to do the same all the way down. There's another 5 or 6 that fits on there. Now there's spares of these hoops included, so if you should break one, you should have some spares left over. So that's our 2 ladders complete, and that's going to fit in there. That's the bigger one, and the hoops now should just grab on the side of the leg as well, and then this one here, and then we need to just add the reinforcing bars. Now the 2 of these are the same size, and that one's going to be slightly a bit longer, so we need to trim that in a second, but I've made 3 all the same size for it to begin with. I was just gluing one end in place first, and then super gluing the rest as you go. Super glue is good for this, and then you'll see it's slightly long on that side, so just trim the bottom off. And that's the upper ladder fitted in place. All 3 of the those reinforcing sort of bars are all the same size. Then we get round to fitting the guardrails for the top deck, and the bottom of each leg has got a little square on it that kind of needs to go roughly in the middle, but as long as they're in line all the way around, it's fine. So the the two ends are the same size. Oop, and I've dropped it. And there is a shorter piece as well, which pops in there, just sneaks in behind the ladder. The grill for the top, the mesh, possibly you'd want to paint that separately before you fit it into place. I've just laid it into place. And then we've got this toothed track. Now if you don't want to use a tooth track and you want to use maybe like a rail, you can use a piece from your old track, and it depends on what effect you're after. I'm not sure if they are generally like a tooth track or a rail, but we've gone for the tooth track on this particular version. So the rooms at the top, the little winch rooms or whatever they are, I'm not sure what the correct name of these things are. But this is just a simple box construction. You'll see it's quite straightforward to make this. Again, you know, they're all very slightly different, or some of them are quite radically different. Some of the gantries seem to have things like, they look like basically garden sheds on the top. This is, as I say, based on what we can make out of the pictures of Dungeness. And it looks like there's a yellow sort of box at the top with a door and some electrical work on the outside. So they look like air conditioning units. They may not be aircon units, but this is kind of what we guessed that the one at Dungeness looks like. And also it has a cover that goes across the sort of that room, that winch room. In reality, this will actually slide separately on its own, but on our particular kit, it's going to be fixed to the base. If you want to include it, obviously, entirely up to you. So the bottom of it, I would suggest you fit last, and there's a reason for that. I'll show you in a second. We're just going to fit these 4 toothed wheels. You can see it's there's an etching. It needs to go on the sort of inner side of the etching. So we need 4 of the wheels, obviously, to make it balance. Then on the outside you can add some details. We've included 4 small air conditioning units. They've got brackets on. You can cut the brackets off if that's what you choose. You can arrange these however and wherever you want to, really. These are just for effect. So the actual hook for the crane. Now, it depends on how you're going to use this. You may have to modify it very slightly. If you're going to use like a cotton or a thread, you'll be able to thread that through. We're using a wire. This is a 1mm wire. I've included some of this in the kit, and this is a aluminium bonsai wire, so it's really quite nice. There's obviously not a lot of weight in the hook, so if you use thread, there is a possibility that there won't appear to be any tension in the cotton, so we've used this wire instead. And to get that through easily, I've just had to cut those tiny bits off the top, just to make it easier to threadle. Once they're all in place, and I've glued them into place as well, they go through the hole, and then as you can see, you can then just glue them into place. Just check the length that you're going to want your hook, how far down you want your hook to be, before you obviously make that cut and that decision. And then once that's all dried, that will then clip into there. Again, you need to glue yours in, and then it'll fit on the track. And then the cover will go over the top. Now there's 2 additional safety fences that we've left in the kit for you. Now you can fit them here. On the Dungeness one, they appear to be fitted. Just need to nip the bottoms off, drill some little pilot holes, and they will glue into place. You may choose not to fit these at all. Entirely up to you. So that's why we've not left any sort of markings or anything like that. So we've included this extra bonsai wire. This is the 2mm one, and we can bend this to make these sort of swags of cable. You'll see them hanging down the side of the of each of the cranes. You may want to use the combination of like the 1mm and the 2mm just to differentiate in different places. Entirely up to you, but it's there if you want to use it. It's just a nice piece of sort of wire. It's quite easy to manipulate and get to the shape, and that's just going to pop into there, and you need to do yours a bit tighter than mine. I've just done it quickly just to show you kind of what you would do with it really. And there's ours fitted into place. And then, I say, on this middle deck, you can add these relay boxes if you want to, or just leave them completely empty. So that was it. Do watch this through a few times. Turn the sound the second time if you don't want to hear me drone on again. But that's it for now. Thanks for watching. See you next time at Bunters Yard.